This feature showcase video is going to look at the multi-date exit functionality in the Tilt Analytics real estate development model. So this module is useful when you don't plan on selling all of your units at the same time. So for example, let's say we hypothetically have a project that begins in January of 2026. The pre-development phase is 6 months, the horizontal development phase is 6 months, and the vertical build is 12 months. So the project runs from January of 26 through the end of December of 2027. If we have commercial units, it works fine with that as well. In my example, I'm just going to look at residential. And so if we had a building of multifamily apartments with 20 studios, 21 beds, and 22 beds, and then in addition, we have, let's say, 20 townhomes, okay? So we're going to operate the apartment building. Let's say we're going to own that and operate it for several years after we build, but the townhomes are a for sale product. We plan on building those and selling them right away. So if I hyperlink over to my residential exit section, and the first setting I'll change actually is, you'll notice here that I have it already set to exit segments and units at different dates. But my toggle with this functionality for multi-date exit also allows me to say, nope, sell all the units and segments together at one time. This section of the inputs model becomes live. You can input the specific date to sell everything and go from there. So if we want to apply the multi-date exit functionality, I toggle here and then go over to my residential exit section, and we'll see that the every single unit type, and the model currently has capacity for 40 different residential unit types. You can have any number of units per type, and I can input specific exit dates for each of the unit types, and I can say how many months it takes to sell all the units of that type. So for example, let's say we're going to hold on to the apartment building all the way until 2034, and we're going to sell that building all at once. But the townhomes we're going to sell as soon as we're done with development. So you'll recall we finished in December of 27. If we start selling the townhomes in January of 28, let's just say it takes 9 months to sell them all. The model provides us options on valuation. Of course, you can't apply a cap rate to a product where you don't have any revenues or NOI. And so I can toggle that I want to sell these townhomes on a per unit, per square foot, just a dollar total basis. Let's just say $800,000 a unit. 2% closing costs across the board. And let's say because you're selling off these units, the bank is going to want to get paid back if you're diminishing their asset base, right? So I could say, let's apply 100% of those exit proceeds to paying down debt. So net exit proceeds after closing costs is $15,680,000. And so if we take a look at what happens there, we'll see that in the cash in, cash out, for example, we have the exit valuation in 2028 for those townhomes, the other exit for the apartment building in 2034. If I scroll over to the monthly section to the right, so we can look at things in a little more detail, here we see month by month sales for 9 months of the townhomes, and we see that the construction loan is being paid down in each month. And there's also construction loan interest being paid as well. You have some operating revenues and so on. And there's a little extra cash thrown off each month for payback to equity. So, but sometimes what clients want to do is they say, well, really what I want to do is I want to have the exit proceeds contribute toward the capital stack during the development. And so let's just say, for example, we start selling these units in 2027 instead of 2028. So now you're smack in the middle of your development. I realize that it doesn't, realistically, it wouldn't really work this way since we only have 12 months of vertical bill. But let's just say this happens during the middle of development. Well, often then the problem is that by the time you have units available for sale, if you have a straight equity debt capital stack with the bank, you've already had to put in your equity portion. And then after that, the bank takes care of 100% of things. So recognizing that, just with straight functionality, this wouldn't reduce your equity requirement in any way because you've already committed your equity and then the bank is then paying for everything. So what I'm going to do is go over to the right next to after my exits, there's a input section for how to handle the construction loan in relation to exit proceeds during development. And I can say, let's apply exit proceeds that occur during development to cover development expenses, yes. And let's have the bank recognize that the project costs are effectively going to be reduced from their perspective on what they're lending toward. And then the exits are going to take over and cover development costs where they can. So if we want the exit proceeds to lend toward the capital stack, the other thing I'm going to do is say, no, we're not going to pay down bank principal 100% with the exit proceeds. Take that out. And now if I come over to my uses and sources, I can see that here's all your project costs. And then there's a reduction of $9 million for development costs not recognized by the bank, paid for by exit proceeds during development. So then the capital stack from the bank's perspective, the project cost becomes a $17 million project. And down here, the model recognizes there can be other capital need that's outside the bank's definition of your project cost. And in this case, you have development costs not recognized by the bank, $9 million, and that's paid for with exit proceeds during development here. And so that can be very useful functionality, can reduce the equity requirement, and the model can allocate the exit proceeds really however you want in terms of either paying down debt, lending toward development expenses, or paying back out to equity. So that's how the multi-date functionality works.